Hi everyone, my name is Julie. This is Keep Calm with Books and Coffee. I talk about books on this channel, mainly books about magic, and today we're going to find out if I can trust Krystal from Bond Book Reviews. So you may recall a couple of months ago when a few of my booktuber friends and I all did videos on if we could trust Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading because she wanted all of us to read If We Were Villains and we were all interested, and then that evolved into us each reading 3 books recommended by Brittany. After we had finished that project, we all sort of rolled into the next video because we had all had a fun time with it and we wanted to see if we could trust someone else in the group. So after a spinner wheel of chaos, we found that Krystal was going to be the next decider of our fates. So I have been given 3 books by Krystal over at Bond Book Reviews, and I'm excited for all of them. So let's go through quickly and show you which ones I'm going to be reading. So the first book that Krystal gave all of us, just like Brittany gave all of us If We Were Villains, is Hate by Tate James. This is the story of Madison Kate, who is framed on one night where things go all wrong in this area of the city that she's in, and it becomes known as Riot Night. She's framed for a murder there, and after going through the justice system and escaping abroad for a year, she comes back to her hometown and is trying to adjust to going to school and also back to her home life, where she finds out that 3 of the guys that helped frame her on Riot Night are now living with her dad. So she has to adjust to this as well. So this is a darker romance, and it is a why choose. That's about all I know about it at this point, so I am interested to see if I like this. This is a little bit of a different subgenre of romance than I read, so I'm interested to see if I enjoy this. The second book that Krystal has chosen for me is Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. In this, we are following Dana, who is a young Black woman living in the 1970s, and she is transported back in time through no desire of her own. She's transported back to the early 1800s, where she saves a young white boy from drowning. And through a series of events, she realizes this boy is one of her ancestors, and she keeps traveling back to her own time in the 1970s and then back in order to save this boy's life over and over again. And she continually has to go back to a time that is very fraught for her as a Black woman. Each time that she goes back, she has to figure out another way to get home, and it is a book that has been on my TBR for a long time, and I have wanted to read it. So I'm excited that Krystal has put this at the top of the priority pile for me. And then in a similar vein to that, as far as the priority pile, is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, which is the third and final book that Krystal has chosen for me. This is a chunky one, and this is the story of Kvothe, Kvothe is currently living as a innkeeper, but he has had quite a number of adventures in his life before this, but he is currently keeping his identity a secret and living a quiet life at this inn. Unfortunately for him, a storyteller finds him and proposes writing down his life and telling his life story. Kvothe isn't convinced about this, but through the discussion, they decide that they are going to do this. And the storyteller is given 3 days by Kvothe to record this story, and then they're going to be done. I believe from my memory that the first 2 books in this series follow the 2 days, and then the third book, if it ever materializes, will follow the 3rd day in this storytelling. I have avoided this series for years simply because I didn't want to read the first 2 and then never get a 3rd book, and that still might happen, but Krystal has put this on this TBR, so we're gonna try it. So those are the 3 books that I have to read to see if I can trust Krystal. I'm really hoping these are hits. Let's jump to the vlog and see. Hello everyone. So since we kicked off the Can We Trust Brittany vlog with If We Were Villains, which was basically the group pick, group read, I'm gonna start this off with Hate as well. And I don't know how this is gonna go. It's a romance. The things I remember from the description are why choose, maybe dark romance, revenge. That's all I got. I have the audiobook from my library, so I'm going to start this today. I'm very nervous. I'm very nervous. That's my update for now. I'm nervous, and this is a romance. to sum everything up. All right, I'm back. I'm not even a chapter in. I'm like 10 minutes into this book. Our main character and her friend have gone to an MMA fight. They are going to see this fighter that the main character is obsessed with, and she is describing him. She's talking about his physique, the fact he hasn't lost. She's obsessed with him. She's talking about how he has all these tattoos and he has a geometric stag tattooed on his back. And this, I had to stop and talk to you about this because this, like, I also have a geometric stag tattoo. So, like, it's this tattoo. And it doesn't show up that often in my videos because you only see me from here up, but I just thought that was funny. So I thought I would share. That's it. I'm enjoying the book. I'm probably going to be obsessed with this guy now. Maybe it's not going to be him that's our main character, but I don't know. I'm just going to be obsessed with this guy now because reasons. All right, I don't know what it is about Cody calling her Madison Kate, but it's kind of driving me crazy because he says it every time. He doesn't shorten it at all. Everyone else does, but like, I don't know, it's kind of driving me crazy. I need him to stop. Good morning, everyone. So I am at the 50% mark of Hate by Tate James, and I'm having a great time. I'm honestly having a great time. This is a fun read. I'm enjoying the book. I like our main character. I'm just listening to the book. What is her name? Madison Kate. They say it so many times. I should be able to recall that so quickly. Anyway, I like MK. The boys are the boys. They're hot, they're sexy, they're annoying, they're funny, all of the things. The only thing I'm annoyed about is I think we all realize from the outset of this that the situation is more complicated than the three boys framing her on riot night. Like, you realize that from the outset, and I don't love how this starts to feel like MK is dumb because she's not figuring that out, like, on any level. Like, she hates these boys. It's like blinding her to that. I get that, but like halfway through the book, I'm just starting to get a little like, girl, it has to be more complicated than that. Like, I don't know. That is the only thing that's like nagging at me and like taking me out of the story, that she keeps harping on how it's all their fault and they're the ones responsible, when like it has to be more complicated or we wouldn't have a story. I'm interested to see where this goes. I am interested to see what the explanation is. I'm assuming there's an explanation. Maybe I'm off base and she should hate them. I don't know. I doubt it. I think this is just what I need right now to kind of reset my reading, because I have just been reading kind of books that I just have liked, like I haven't loved them. So this is something that I'm really enjoying, is fast-paced and fun and keeping me interested, and I'm gonna keep going. All right, let's talk about Hate by Tate James. I have just finished this a couple of hours ago. I returned the book to the library, and I don't have very different thoughts than I did at the halfway point. I had a great time. In fact, I had a better time than I thought I would. I thought it had great characters. It had a great plot. I had much more fun with it. The spice was good. I just overall had a good time with this book, and I would continue the series. In fact, I really want to continue the series, and I got real stressed when I looked at my library and saw that they only had the first book. But then when I looked on Hoopla, they have more than the first book. So eventually we will continue the series because I need to know what happens. But I also have the same quibbles of that obviously these things are more complicated than MK is like looking at them, and it just, I got to the point where I was like, okay, we're in another cycle of her taking revenge on these guys for something that's going to be more complicated than she sees right now, and she's going to feel bad about it later. And I just was like, okay, I'm ready to get to the end now. So I'm starting to get a little antsy for that towards the like 3/4 of the bookmark, and I'm not sure that I am a mafia gang style romance girly. Some of the like violence and some of the like questionable moral actions started to like just put me off of the guys. Like, they were very like hot and cold that way for me. Like, they were caring about Madison Kate, and then they'd go like be violent jerks, and I'd just be like, I had a hard time with that sometimes. So is this a genre like dark academia that I hadn't really read before and I think I will explore more? Yes. Will I explore it as on my own as dark academia? No, I would definitely need some recommendations for this, have to read some reviews and do a little more research before I wander deeper into this genre of romance, but I'm not saying I would never do it again because I did have a good time overall. So like I said, my trust in Krystal is definitely on the trusting side. I didn't think that she would really steer me wrong with this, but I wasn't sure that it would be for me. So I was very on the fence, but I had a great time, like I keep saying. Hello, I've tried to join in on the fun of eating an Australian snack. Wow. This vlog. So these are here. I tried to go to my local snack place that has international snacks, and when I got there I asked them and they were out of everything Australian, which was disappointing, and we might try to get there again, but so I ordered these offline. Amazon helped me. So I have seen 2 ways to do this, because we're gonna do a Tim Tam Slam, of course, but I've seen 2 ways to do this, with coffee or milk. I don't know which one's correct. I probably should have asked, but I'm excited they're here and they're a chocolate cookie and it's the afternoon, so it's time. Right? Okay, we tried the coffee first because this is Keep Calm with Books and Coffee, and it's delicious. For me personally, the coffee was a lot better, but the milk wasn't bad. Hello, so I'm 10% into Kindred, and this book is really well written, is what I'm learning. The prose of it really... So Dana is going back and forth in time, and I've been reading the part where she goes back, she makes it home, I take a break, I read like something else, and then I go back to it because I just need a little bit of time to process what's going on with her, and each one of these conversations, as they get a little bit longer, present even more like violence that she's experiencing because of slavery and racism at the time, as well as like actions people are taking against her, things that are occurring in the time that are difficult. So I've just kind of been like breaking it up as I go. I don't feel like it's really affecting my reading experience to do that. I just am kind of taking my time with it and trying to sit with the feelings that this book is giving me, because obviously it's a heavy book. It has a lot of this. The writing style is super easy to follow. Like, that is, I think, the best part of this book. The writing style is not overly complicated. It's very accessible. It's easy for you as the reader to understand what is going on and for you to follow that, which gives you plenty of room as the reader to think about it and, like I said, sit with those feelings. Since I have some time with this, I've kind of been back burnering it, even though I am enjoying it. Enjoying is a strange word to use for this, but I've been finding it very interesting and valuable, and I've been, like I said, sitting with it. I'm getting more and more interested in it because the longer Dana goes back, the more is happening, so there's just more to follow.
This is the chaotic update of me being awake at 2 o'clock in the morning because I fell asleep because I had a headache, and I tried to lay down and take a 20-minute nap, which turned into like an hour-long nap, and that was at like 7:30 to 8:30. I've been awake ever since. So what I've been doing is listening to Kindred and trying to fall asleep, and it's not working. However, it is quite the experience to like listen to this book in a long stretch. I will tell you more about it in the morning, but I just had to tell you that I've been listening to it for like 5 hours as I try to fall asleep. I don't know that I'm gonna sleep any tonight, friends. The insomnia is winning.
Hello everyone. So I'm sitting on my steps, and it is the afternoon after I have my chaos clip of reading this last night, pretty much all night, because I read so many hours of this. This was the first time I sat down and read a very big chunk of this book, because it is a heavy read. It has to do like the contrast of Dana living her life as a, free Black woman in the 1970s. She's married to a white man and then being transported back in time to enduring slavery and being subjugated to horrific things in the 18 teens, I believe, like over 100 years before. And seeing her go through this is very difficult. I want to read more by Octavia Butler. This is like my first read by her, and I'm really enjoying it. Like, my Krystal meter is flat on the side of trust. The Name of the Wind is going to have to do something really awful or not work at all for me to even move this meter at this point. I thought it was going to be more of a question, but this book is just really valuable, really beautifully written. It has a lot of important points to make, and I just am finding it really, really well done. I'm at the 88% mark, and I'm really anxious to see how everything turns out with Alice and Dana and Rufus and, you know, everything that's going on here. I am looking very tired. I'm realizing, because I didn't get any sleep last night. So I'm gonna go out with a friend to get dinner tonight, and then I'm gonna come home and finish off this book because I really want to get to The Name of the Wind. I have just over a week to read that book, and the audiobook is like 28 hours, so I have to, you know, buckle down and kind of get through that. I wanted to get done earlier than this, but it's just been a bit of a challenge to do 2 taste test vlogs nearly simultaneously, and also, you know, everything else. This spot either has all the light or no light. I'm sorry if you can hear traffic. I have my window open, but it's a gorgeous day and I want to air out my house. I suppose it's time I told you all my history with The Name of the Wind, because I didn't oppose this when Krystal suggested it to me, but I have soft DNF this book before. Shock, I know. I've had this book for a long time, and I feel like the soft DNF happened somewhere right after college, like 2013 to 2015, maybe. It's been a long time. And what happened was I was reading this book, and something traumatic happened in this book that like made me angry. I put the book down, and then I think I had to have my appendix out. I could be wrong. I think that I put this book down and had to go to the hospital, but those weren't related incidences. It sounds so dramatic, but it was really wasn't. Just truly, like, I had put this book down and I was reading other things, and I think I never went back to it. And part of that was probably because I was ill. However, we never went back, and I still pretty vividly remember the scene in which that I decided to put the book down. So we're gonna have to get over that hurdle. I think it was around the halfway point, so we have a little bit of time to get to that point and get reinvested. I'm also gonna listen to the audiobook this time, because that's on Everand, and I'm excited to try the audio. And also, I'm just a more seasoned reader this time. I don't think I hope I'm not going to give up because of the scene I'm thinking of now. Because it wasn't like gory or anything. It was just, it upset me and made me angry. So we're going to try this again. We're going to take the book back up with Kavoth and Bast, and we'll see where we go. But yeah, I thought I had to explain my history with this book and fess up to it before we got started, because, you know, it's there. So let's try again. Hello everyone. So isn't it nice that now that it's a little more nice out, I can come outdoors? I hope there aren't too many noises. There are some birds, and there's a wind chime over there somewhere. But anyway, we're going to talk about Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, and this is the final update for that book. So the short version is, you should read this book if you haven't. It's incredible, it's important, and you should just read it. It's fantastic. The longer version, and I'm going to do my best to talk about this book, but there are people that are way more eloquent than me that have already talked about this book. It's really accessibly written. that you can read it and understand exactly what's going on presently. But it's also a really good allegory, I think is the word, symbol of what's going on in American culture about how far away we think racism is. And I don't think we are quite at the spot in the 1970s when this book was written, but we are not as far away from racism as we think we are. And I think that is the ultimate point of this book. We think that racism is far in the past, that is something that happened during slavery, and that we are further away from it than we are. And then something happens and you feel like you're just sucked right back to the 1800s. And I think that was done incredibly well with a very accessible and easy to read writing style, a really compelling premise, and a way that Octavia E. Butler built the tension in this book so masterfully, because I told you how I was reading these little chunks of the book as Dana went back in time and then came forward in time, and I was putting it down in between. And then as we got to the point where she was going back longer and longer, I couldn't put this book down, partially because I was reading it when I was having insomnia, but also because the tension is just built in this way that as you get closer and closer to the end, it is ratcheted up so high and you're so stressed for her. But overall, this is just a fantastic book that was incredibly written, and I would like to see more people read it. I wish I had read it when I was younger or like just before now, because I feel like I should have read it before now. It's just one of those books that kind of sat on my TBR, something I want to read someday. So thank you, Krystal, for making a priority for me, because I honestly think this was really important. It gets 5 stars from me. I just had a great time reading this, and I will be exploring more books from Octavia E. Butler in the future. And now we are going to move on to The Name of the Wind. I have sat on my thoughts on this book for a couple of days, to be honest. So we have already started The Name of the Wind. As I told you just before now, that I have softy enough this book at the like halfway point before. So I haven't reached anything yet that is new to me. I did forget some things, but I did kind of remember the overall plot of this book, so that's making this first half go very, very quickly, which is good because I only have about a week until this project has to be published, until this vlog goes live. Probably won't update you until I get to something new, only because I generally have feelings of positivity towards this book as far as the writing style and the world building and the storytelling style, so I will probably come back to you when I have new thoughts other than that. So it's currently Tuesday. The goal is to finish this book today. We are currently at the 60% mark, and I'm having a good time. We've gotten through all of the points where I decided to set the book down, and also everyone tells me I have less than 6 hours of listening left at my listening speed. So that's a reasonable goal today because I have off work. Leandra is starting sprints here in just a few minutes. I think about an hour actually. So I'm going to be trying to get this done today. This is going well. It's going about as well as I expected it to. Knowing that I had softy enough this book and never gone back to it, but knowing that I hadn't disliked most of the parts of this book. Like, there are a lot of things I like about it. I like our main character. I like the storytelling style. I like all the characters. But it's just not grabbing me, and there's certain school setting fantasies just do not grab my attention. So, like, for example, I could never get into Nevernight by J. Krystal. I tried and tried and tried, and I couldn't get into that. This feels a lot like Nevernight to me, that we have this prodigal student who is doing very well, and there's just a lot of classroom time. The Shalamance series by Naomi Novik holds absolutely no interest to me. As much as I like fantasy, that just doesn't grab me. I'm trying to think of other examples. But then like other school settings do work for me. Like Dark Academia worked very well for me. And like the Alana series by Tamora Pierce. Even though that's in a school and I read that as a kid and I absolutely loved it, reread it recently, still love it. So there are still school settings that do work for me, but it's something about this specific feel of a school that just doesn't quite get me there. So this is fine. I'm enjoying it. It's sitting at like a 4 stars for me because I am having a good time. Yeah, that's my thoughts so far. Nobody come at me, please. Because I know this book is very beloved, but it's just not grabbing me. It's fun. It's a good time, but it's not something that is blowing me out of the water. Hello, everyone. So I have finished The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and this is going to end up at a 4 star for me. I think there are a few factors here. I think that this book was great. I enjoyed the writing style, enjoyed the characters. I had a really good time reading it. Like I mentioned, I am not always a school setting fantasy girl, and this was one of those times that wasn't my favorite part of this book. When we were away from the school, when we were doing other things, I was actually more invested than I was when we were watching classes happen, when we were watching Kavoth fight with the masters, etc., etc. So I had a good time with this, just not a great time. Nothing really blew me out of the water about this book. I had a good time reading it. I will say that I have been reading a lot for content in the past few weeks, and I think that might have affected my enjoyment just a little bit of this book because I was just starting to feel a little burnout reading. So I think that was a little bit of a factor in this. But because I kept wanting to do other things, read other things. When I wasn't reading this, I didn't want to pick it back up, but that was more of a I don't want to read right now feeling than I don't want to read this book feeling. So that's affecting it a little bit. But I'm going to continue the series. I'm going to continue reading this. I would read more. I did have a good time and I had fun. So 4 stars is where we're going to end up. So the other question, of course, is, do I trust Krystal? And the answer is yes. I ended up with 2 4 stars and a 5-star book. I'm going to continue both series that I started in this video at some point, so I think I can trust Krystal. I would be interested to see what her other recommendations in the vein of hate were, only because that was a surprise to me. The other 2 were ones that I wanted to read in some capacity before she chose them for this video, whereas hate wasn't on my radar and it took me off guard, so I'd be interested to see if I like her other recommendations in that vein. But overall, this was a great time, and I'm going to give you the hint that someone else is going to decide my fate sometime in the future. There's going to be more deciding of fates and more book recommendations. Who could it be? Maybe it's me. Maybe I am the person giving the recommendations. Maybe I'm not. Maybe it's all a lie. Maybe it's not happening. Lots and lots of maybes and possibilities. Something is happening at some point in the future, but now you have no idea what. I've had a bit of a chaotic day, so I apologize for the chaos that I've just introduced to this video. But that is it for me today. If you have any thoughts or feelings or want to share anything about the books that I talked about today, please let me know down below. You can also subscribe down there if you would like, and please check out all of the videos from my friends. I will have the playlist linked down there, as well as the playlist from last time asking when we could trust Brittany. So definitely check out those videos as well. And of course, like and subscribe and follow all of my friends because they are fantastic. But that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!